Hello everyone, welcome to the 33rd episode of the Purple Penny Weekly video. We've been doing these for a couple of years now. My name's Mark. I run the Purple Penny with my wife Catherine, who is as usual out there getting caught up on the weekend's mail. We've been here for a bit over 3 years. We're about sort of 15 minutes north of the city of Adelaide, about a 10-minute train ride. We're only about 500 metres away from a train station. Catherine and I are both coin collectors, and we do enjoy what we do here at the Purple Penny. Last week the weekdays were busy buying. Lots of buying last week. Highlight of the week was a 2012 red poppy roll. It's the first one of those that we've bought since December last year, and it was bought from an ex-RSL employee who bought it at the time that the RSL red poppies were released onto cards. So that's pretty good provenance for that roll. We'll just say a quick hello because someone has said hello I should respond to. Hello Paul Spink, Darren Curtis, John Belcher, John Fuller, Judy Gillies, Catherine Harris, who's out there watching videos instead of getting the post done. Hello Ash, Brendan and Tanya. Welcome everyone. Thanks for saying hello. So Saturday was probably, I would say, the busiest Saturday that we've had. We really did not get a minute off. We had people in and out the whole day, which is really good because Saturday is, I would call it a bit of a social day. It's a good day for us to catch up with our regulars and stand at the front counter and have a chat. It's not a day that we ever try to get anything done in the back office. So I always enjoy Saturdays. The only issue was I needed to race home and watch football, so we had to kick everyone out at 1 o'clock so I could go and do that. Right. News of the week. There were a couple of stories this week that made me laugh, but we will just do it in the order that I've got it listed here in the slide. So we've got the second lot of August mint releases coming up this week. The Diary of the Wombat coins. So that's a coloured 20-cent piece available on a card, on a book, and then gold plated on a book. We should have some of the 20-cent pieces on cards up on our website on release day. So if you are after those 20-cent pieces, then they will be up on our website on release day. The books probably will not be up on our website. I'm pretty sure that we won't have any of those available. The September RAM releases were announced last week. There's a whole bunch of those. I will just pop those slides up here quickly so that you can just see what they are and perhaps hit up your coin dealer for those. So we've got two coins related to Albert Einstein. There's a $1 domed silver proof coin, which is $130. There's 5,000 of those available. There's a $1 aluminium bronze Einstein themed coin, which is $15. There's a copper nickel 50-cent piece which celebrates the 75th anniversary of the Australian Signals Directorate, and then there's also a new $2 coin which is in a C mint mark, and a rolled coin, the C mint mark being $15 and the rolled coin being $99.95. The rolled coin is of course a mint dealer only product. It's not available directly from the mint themselves. Now the $2 coins we will have stock available on our website on release day, which is Thursday the 1st of September. We can still take some interest in the other coins, but the $2 coins, the interest in those has been very strong, and we're not recording anyone's interest in those any longer. But the other coins, please feel free to contact us about those. The other releases for the month are the annual lunar coins. So we've got the $2, the 2 times by $1 aluminium bronze set for $30, the $5 domed fine silver coin for $130, the half-ounce fine silver ingot for $70, the Tetra Decagon copper nickel 50-cent piece, and they are all for the Year of the Rabbit. Year of the Rabbit is this year's lunar animal. And then we've got the 2 Christmas coins. There's a copper nickel coin on 5 different coloured cards. And that 50-cent piece this year is coloured, and it's still available at that $10 price point that it has been the last couple of years. So that's quite cheap for a coloured 50-cent piece. And then there is the silver proof version of that Christmas 50-cent piece. So that's the releases coming up for the 1st of September. As I said, the $2 products will be up on our website on release day. The other products, if you are interested in those, please do let us know. Right, we'll just jump back to the news slide here. 2020 tooth fairies have exploded in the last 2 weeks. They are a reasonably low mintage $2. I think the mintage is between 11 and 12,000. They were made to order in 2020, so mint dealers ordered them, and that's what the mint made. The 2021 and 2022 have been made to demand, so there is more of those. The price has gone, I think, from about $60 or $70 to almost $200 in the space of 2 weeks. As always, I do counsel caution about those, about chasing the prices up for those. 11,000 is still a goodly number, and just remember that there are usually there are sellers on Facebook driving this process, that are hoarding these things up and then driving the prices up. Don't be the one left holding the bathwater, I guess, if you're chasing the prices of those up. And if you do happen to have some 2020 tooth fairies that you've bought for release price, well, kudos to you, because you've done well there. That the price of that coin has gone up nicely. Now, as Judy Gillies has mentioned, Launceston made the news this week. Those of you who have been to Launceston would know that there's a cage of monkeys in the park at Launceston that you can go and look at, and there's a pond there, and some individual has decided that breaking into a cage of monkeys was a good idea, and stealing the coins out of the pond in the monkey enclosure that people throw in there for good luck, that was a good idea. But unfortunately, that person has left themselves open to catching monkey herpes. Apparently, monkeys carry a variety of herpes, which is quite harmless to them, but transmissible to humans and harmful to humans. So the person that thought that jumping into that cage and pinching the money out of the pond could be in a bit of trouble. And as Catherine said before, if someone shows up to the Launceston Hospital with a case of monkey herpes, well, we know where they've got that from. On to Zimbabwe gold coins, which we've done over the last several weeks. Those of you might remember that Zimbabwe released 1 ounce gold coins to try and curb inflation there, and they have been bought up with enthusiasm by the public in Zimbabwe. The 1 ounce gold coins have been selling for about $1,800, and most of them have been bought up in local Zimbabwe currency. They've done an initial release of those coins, and they're going to release another 2,500, and it has been announced by the Zimbabwe Reserve Bank just in the last couple of days that in November they will be releasing smaller sizes, 1/10 ounce, 1/4 ounce, and 1/2 ounce gold coins. And again, they will all be available at spot price plus about 5%. So that will probably mean that the less well-off members of the Zimbabwe public will be able to purchase those smaller gold coins and hedge against the 300 or 400% inflation that Zimbabwe is having at the moment. The other bit of banknote related news this week that I came across was that the Reserve Bank of Fiji is releasing a collector 88-cent banknote. Bit of an odd denomination, but if you do know your banknotes, you would know that Fiji has released a $7 note before to celebrate the rugby sevens, and they've released an 88-cent banknote, primarily I assume for the Chinese market, with 8 being a lucky number. They're only available from the Fijian Reserve Bank, and the release price is 28 Fijian dollars, which I think is about $18 Australian. I'm trying to get some. So do keep an eye on our website, and perhaps we'll have some available on our website. They're quite a nice looking note. I'll just pop those up here so you can see what they look like. There it is there. It's got Chinese characters on there and Chinese symbols and all sorts of good luck stuff there for people who believe in that sort of stuff. So I'm hoping to be able to get some of those because I quite like the look of them. Right, topic of the week this week comes from the article that Catherine and I are writing at the moment for Australian Coin and Banknote magazine. It's wrong planchet error coins, and wrong planchet error coins are coins that are struck on blanks or planchets meant for other coins. Just as a matter of numismatic nitpicking, if you're wondering why there's a distinction made between blanks and planchets. A blank is the plain metal disc that is punched out from a metal strip, and once a rim is applied to it, it becomes a planchet. So that's the difference there. So there you can see there. A wrong planchet error is a coin struck on a planchet or blank intended for another coin or token. Now you have to include tokens there, because there have been Australian coins struck on blanks intended for tokens in the 1970s, the late 1970s I think, or maybe the early 1980s. There were some 20-cent pieces struck on blanks intended for Thai temple tokens from Thailand, because the Royal Australian Mint happened to be striking tokens for temples in Thailand at that time. There are different types of wrong planchet error coins. There's wrong denomination. So what's a wrong denomination? So that's a coin that is struck on a blank or planchet from a coin of the same country but the wrong denomination. So we'll just show you what one of those might look like. So this is a 2-cent, Australian 2-cent, struck on the blank for a 1-cent coin. These are, as far as wrong planchet coins go, reasonably common here in Australia. You do see them reasonably often. And in fact, a coin dealer in Melbourne about 12 years ago or so had a partial roll of them under the counter. So they were selling one of these for, I think it was $100 or $120 or something, and as soon as that one was sold, they'd reach under the counter and pull out another one and hold that one out and make that one available for sale. So this is a wrong denomination, incorrect planchet error. Now, interestingly, there is even things to look out for on these 1-cent on 2-cent blanks. If they actually have a visible date on them, which this one doesn't, they tend to be worth a bit more than the ones that don't have a visible date on them. We'll just go back to the wrong planchet error slide here. You can have what's called off-metal wrong planchet errors. So these are errors perhaps that are struck on a blank for another denomination, but the wrong material. So for example, a dollar coin struck on a 10-cent blank, so that's a wrong denomination and wrong metal. And I don't have a picture of one of those, but I do have one here that I can hold up to the screen. We'll just cover this light up so it's a bit more visible there. So that's a 10-cent, a dollar coin struck on a 10-cent blank from 1984. Again, you know, this is a reasonably common error of this type. You do see them from time to time. This one was received in change by a gentleman back in the 1960s in Canberra, and he'd hung on to it ever since then. You do see the odd error on a wrong denomination up for auction, and they typically fetch thousands of dollars. So 50 cents struck on 20-cent blanks and things like that, they do fetch a lot of money. Then you get what is called a coin struck on a foreign planchet, and that happens because somehow the blank supply gets contaminated with blanks from another country. And the example that I like to share here is one that Catherine actually identified a while ago. It's a $2 struck on a Euro 10-cent blank. So back in the sort of mid-2000s, there were a bunch of these weekly struck $2 coins that had appeared. When I say a bunch, maybe 5 or 6. And Catherine managed to buy a couple of them, and one weekend we sort of sat down and tried to work out where these had come from. And with a bit of detective work, we worked out that the Royal Australian Mint was getting their blanks from a company in Korea. The company in Korea was making blanks for the Euro currency series, and with a bit more detective work we matched up the composition and weight of this particular error to a Euro 10 cent, sent it across to PCGS with some supporting documentation, and they agreed with our conclusion. Now, what effect did that have on the market of these? A lot. Once a wrong planchet error is identified in terms of the blank that it's struck on, the value can easily go up by a factor of 5 or 10, because then it's easier to explain to people what it is. So the price of these went from sort of a few $100s to a few $1,000s in the period of a couple of months once we'd identified what they had come from. Now, if you compare that with this coin here, which Catherine and I found in a money box last year, it's a 1981 20-cent piece, struck on a 8.5 gram copper nickel blank. Now, we had this XRF tested, we weighed it, and we've been through the Royal Australian Mint's annual reports in the preceding years and the years afterwards, and unfortunately we can't marry this up with anything that the Royal Australian Mint was making at the time. So as such, it remains unknown, and simply a 1981 20-cent piece struck on a copper nickel planchet. And I would say that the value of this is probably perhaps a quarter or a third of what it would be if we'd managed to marry it up to a product that the Mint was making. Now, I do have another example of that sort of thing here. This is a florin, a World War II florin struck on a shilling blank. Now, during World War II, much of our silver coinage was made in the USA, at the mints in Denver and San Francisco, and their quality control was not perhaps as good during the war as what it could have been, and as such a number of wrong planchet error coins came out during the war years. This one here is a florin struck on a shilling blank, and there were florins and shillings struck on war nickel blanks, and they're worth a few $1,000s each. They're worth a goodly amount of money. I happen to have a florin that is struck on an unidentified 4.5 gram silver blank, and unfortunately we can't marry that up to anything that the US mints were making during the war, and as such that coin is probably worth less than $1,000, whereas if we could tie it down to being struck on a war nickel blank, or perhaps a Canadian dime or something like that, it would be worth 5 or 6 times that amount. So wrong, every type of error has its own little nuances and details that you need to understand to be able to value it accurately and purchase them at the right price. So I guess with these sorts of things, do your research, look at auction results and things like that. You're always quite welcome to give us a call and have a chat to us as well if you are interested in getting into these, and because it is easy to spend a lot of money on something that perhaps isn't worth quite as much as what you think it is. Now, if we just jump back to this slide here, it's interesting to just think about how these things could actually happen. So the story I told about the $2 on the euro, obviously somehow those 10-cent euro blanks ended up in the drums of $2 blanks that were sent from South Korea to Australia. How that happened is unknown. Perhaps a lazy factory worker swept up some spilled blanks and dumped them in the wrong place. Perhaps there were some loose blanks in the bottom of a drum that someone assumed was empty, and the rest of the $2 coins were piled on top of it. During World War II, 1943 US cents were all supposed to be struck from steel. The bronze was to be used for the war effort. But there are about sort of 25 or 30 1943 US cents struck on bronze, and it's believed that happened simply because there were some blanks stuck in the machinery that were left over from 1942. When the 1943 run started, all those steel planchets went through the machinery, dislodged those bronze blanks, and a handful of them were struck into cents. So that's easily how that could have happened. Of course, you'll never know for certain how it happens. but all you can say is that it is blank contamination of some type. Right, that's it for this week. Thank you everyone for watching as usual. What's the comment here? Just regarding tooth fairies. Right, so someone has actually asked where will the 2020 tooth fairy stop and what's driving it? And David Trotter has said quite intelligently, more collectors of the hobby wanting one of everything in the $2 series, but largely I think fear of missing out. I probably agree with David there. I don't feel like there's just been a surge of new collectors into the hobby in the last few months. I've seen this happen before with other coins, and I'm not sure if it's driven by sellers hyping these things up, or it's just a bunch of buyers who decide that this thing is a rare thing. The 11,000 mintage for the 2020 Tooth Fairy has been known for a while, but certainly something has got people hot under the collar about them, and we're getting a number of inquiries about them. And again, I just counsel people to be careful about spending too much on those coins, because once the interest of the masses moves on to something else, there's a good chance that price will fall away. Right, if no one has anything else to say, I think that will be it for this week. As always, if you have anything you'd like me to talk about, please send us a message, give us a call, email, Facebook message, text message, whatever it happens to be. Always looking for topics. Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you so much for interacting with me. It makes this much easier. And stay safe, happy collecting, and we'll be back same time next week. Bye for now.